Hey everybody, happy spring to you. Today I wanted to talk about some of the effects that um, water and surface gravity would have on the moon. Um, so the first thing about the moon is, of course, by going by the numbers, you know that it has a very low surface gravity and it also has a very small escape velocity. Because these two numbers are relatively low, the moon is not able to retain an atmosphere like Earth does. So, as a result, most of its gases that have been formed on its surface escaped into space a long time ago. That even includes much of its water. There's some new evidence that suggests that there might be some subsurface water on the moon, but for the most part, the moon is pretty uh, waterless. At any rate, the effects of having a low surface gravity, besides not having a atmosphere and having water, it would also have a tendency to make formations like mountains grow much taller because gravity wouldn't be able to beat them down and try to smush them as much. The other thing that is a pretty obvious conclusion is that since there is no water and no rain on the moon, mountains, once they form, are going to stay pretty much the way they are. There's not going to be an erosion process like there is on Earth. So this leads you to some of the kind of obvious things about the moon that may not be that obvious before you really think about them. But the first thing is that mountains on the moon are probably much more jagged and much more tall. They have a larger elevation on average than Earth mountains, although the Himalayas are tremendously large mountains and probably larger than any moon mountains. In general, mountains on the moon are really pretty large. A lot of them are over 14,000 feet tall, which on Earth they only get up over 14,000 feet in a few locations on Earth. At any rate, I think that that's a really interesting consideration when you think about the moon and the moon geology, what is going on with the moon. At any rate, um, as you've probably read in your book, the oldest regions of the moon are thought to be the lunar highlands, these mountains, and they were thought to have formed right after the moon formed itself, actually, while the moon was still molten and barren. At any rate, after that, the moon was heavily cratered by the bombardment era, at which point the Maria were formed as a result of lava flowing out of the molten core and making huge oceans of lava on the surface of the moon that cooled. Um, at any rate, the Maria are some of the younger regions, and then, of course, the asteroid impacts, a lot of them lay on top of the Maria, and so they would be the youngest yet. At any rate, so that gives you an idea of how much of the age of these different phenomena that we're looking at on the surface of the moon. The last point I think that's a really good general consideration is that the side of the moon facing Earth, because it has been sheltered by Earth, it does not have as many